Before you close this video, just give me 30 seconds, because what I'm going to reveal today might explain why prosperity hasn't reached you yet, and the answer lies in something you overlook every day without realizing it. Have you ever stopped to think about why some homes have an energy that we feel as soon as we walk through the door? It's not the size, it's not the decor, it's not the neighborhood. It's something invisible but absolutely real. And Kabbalah has a name for it. It has an explanation for it. And it has a solution for it, in case your home isn't radiating what it should be radiating. I want you to stay here with me today, because we're going to talk about something that very few people teach outside of Jewish study circles. We're going to talk about the steps, the entrance of your home, and what the sacred numerology of Kabbalah says about the relationship between this number and the flow of abundance in your life. Does it seem too simple? I understand. But stay with me, because when you understand what I'm going to show you, you'll never look at the entrance of your home the same way again. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, how many steps are there at the entrance of your house? Or if you live in an apartment, how many steps do you take from the hallway to your door? Write it down. I want to know. Because we will talk about this throughout this video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Hit the bell. Because every day I bring teachings that come from a tradition of thousands of years. Teachings that have been preserved, studied, and lived by generations of wise people. And that have everything to do with the life you want to build. Let me tell you a story. A story I heard from my family, passed down from generation to generation, as so many Jewish stories are passed, not in books, but in voices, at dinner tables, on Shabbat nights. They say there was a man, a Jewish merchant who had immigrated to a new city, fleeing the hardships of Central Europe in the early last century. He was intelligent, hardworking, honest. But the first years were tough, very tough. He tried everything, but prosperity always seemed to be just a step away, too close to give up, too far to reach. One day, an elder from the community came to visit his house. He entered through the door, looked around, and remained silent for a moment. Then he asked, "How many steps does your entrance have?" The man was surprised by the question. "3," he answered. The elder nodded slowly and said, "3 is a number of transition. It is not arrival. It is passage. Your house does not yet know if you have arrived." The merchant did not understand at the time, but the elder explained, with that patience of one who carries ancient wisdom, that in Kabbalistic tradition, numbers are not neutral. Every number carries a vibration, an intention, a function in the spiritual realm. And the number of steps you take to enter your home says something about the relationship between you and the space you inhabit. It says something about whether you are just passing through or if you have truly arrived. The merchant did not renovate the staircase overnight, but he began to pay attention. He started to treat the entrance of the house as a sacred portal, and over time, not from one day to the next, but with consistent practice and intention, something began to change. First in his attitude, then in the circumstances around him. This story stayed in my memory because it captures something that Kabbalah teaches profoundly. The external environment and the internal state are in constant conversation, and we are the translators of this conversation. So let's talk about what Kabbalah truly says about numbers and about spaces. In Jewish tradition, there is a discipline called gematria, from the Hebrew gematria. Gematria is the study of the numerical value of letters and words in Hebrew, and it reveals connections between concepts that seem separate but share the same spiritual essence. It is not superstition, it is a language, a way of seeing patterns that the common eye does not see. Each number, in the Kabbalistic view, carries what the wise call tikkun, which means correction, purpose, mission. When a number appears repeatedly in your life, in your home, in your circumstances, it is not an accident, it is information. Now, when we talk about the steps of a house, the steps you take to enter your living space, we are talking about something that tradition calls saf habayit, the threshold of the house. And the threshold, in the Jewish spiritual view, is one of the most meaning-laden places that exist. Did you know that in the Torah, the door of the house is mentioned as a place of protection, blessing, and demarcation between the outside world and the sacred space within? A mezuzah, that Jews place on the door is not just a decorative symbol. It marks the threshold as a point of spiritual transition, a point where you leave one energy and enter another. The steps leading to this threshold are the preparation for this transition. They are the unconscious ritual you perform every time you come home. And if this ritual is not aligned with intention, it becomes automatic. And the automatic in Kabbalah rarely serves the sacred. Now let's talk about the numbers themselves. And here I want you to pay close attention, because this has direct application in your life today. The number 1 represents echad, unity. One step means there is no separation between the external world and your internal space. It can be powerful, but it requires that the person inhabiting this space has a very strong spiritual clarity, because the external environment enters without filter. The number 2 carries the energy of duality, shnaim. 2 steps create a tension, a choice. You are in the middle. You haven't completely left the outside world, nor have you fully arrived at the inner space. Houses with 2 steps often house people who live in internal conflict, not by accident, but because the space is reflecting that duality. The number 3, shalosh, is the number of expression, creativity, movement. It is a powerful number, but as the elder of the story said, 3 is transition. It is not arrival. Houses with 3 steps tend to be spaces of much movement. People come and go, projects start and do not finish, energy enters but does not settle. The number 4, arba, is foundation, stability. The 4 elements, the 4 Kabbalistic worlds, Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzirah, Asiya, these are the 4 stages of the manifestation of reality. 4 steps create a base. Whoever enters through 4 steps is, symbolically, traversing the 4 worlds and arriving at the space of manifestation. The number 7, Sheva, is the number of divine completeness. The Shabbat is the 7th day. 7 are the days of the week, the musical notes, the chakras in the integrated tradition. 7 steps are considered, in many circles of Kabbalistic study, the most auspicious number for entering a home. And the number 10, Eser, represents the 10 sefirot, the 10 divine attributes through which the light of Ein Sof, the infinite, manifests in creation. 10 steps is the complete ascent of the tree of life. But, and this is important, the number itself is not a sentence. It is not a prison. It is a starting point for consciousness. Because Kabbalah never teaches fatalism. Kabbalah teaches responsibility. It teaches that we are co-creators of our reality, not victims of it. And this is where the concept of kavana comes in. Intention, direction of the heart. The great masters of Kabbalah taught that a physical act without kavana is like a body without a soul. It works mechanically, but it does not create tikkun. It does not generate real transformation. When you come home every day thinking about what happened at work, in traffic, in worries, you are crossing the most sacred threshold of your life on autopilot. And the autopilot does not turn on the spiritual light of your home. But when you stop, even for 3 seconds, and cross that threshold with awareness, with gratitude, with the internal declaration that you are entering a space of blessing, refuge, prosperity, you activate something different. You transform a mechanical act into a sacred ritual. And sacred rituals, repeated with intention and consistency, create what Kabbalah calls reshimo, a spiritual impression, a groove of light that deepens over time and begins to attract circumstances compatible with that frequency. Now I want to give you something practical, because teaching without practice is like a seed without soil. The first exercise I invite you to do starts today, as soon as you finish this video. It's called the Conscious Threshold Practice. For 7 days, the number of completeness, every time you arrive home, before taking the first step inside, you stop. Take a deep breath once, and you say, it can be in a low voice, it can be internally, the following words. I enter this space with peace. I enter with gratitude. I enter with the awareness that this house is a vessel of blessing. In Hebrew, the wise use the expression Baruch haba, which means, Blessed is the one who comes. You can add these words to your ritual. Baruch haba. Blessed is the one who arrives. And what arrives at this moment is you, bringing light into your space. Do this for 7 days without stopping, without judgment, without needing to feel anything extraordinary in the first days. The practice creates the channel. The channel, over time, allows the flow. The second exercise involves what I call the threshold map. I want you to look at the entry space of your home with new eyes, not as an architect, as a spiritual guardian. Ask yourself, does this space say welcome, or does it say, I'm just passing through? Is there enough light? Is there something that pleases your senses? A plant, a scent, an image that brings peace? Or are there shoes thrown around, accumulated mail, things that need to be resolved? Kabbalah teaches that physical space is a mirror of the internal state, and at the same time, a generator of it. So there is a two-way relationship. When you organize the external space with intention, you are creating conditions for the internal space to also organize. And when the internal space organizes, choices change. And when choices change, circumstances follow. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to be intentional. Put a living element at the entrance. A small plant, flowers, something that breathes. This activates what the Kabbalists call chiyut, hiyut, the vital force. It ensures that there is light, natural light when possible, a cozy lamp when not. Light is or, and or, in Kabbalah, is not just physical illumination. It is the manifestation of the divine presence in space. And, if possible, place something that represents your intention for that space. It could be a word written on a piece of paper and kept in a discreet place. It could be an image. It could be a symbol. The intention materialized in space creates a constant reminder for your consciousness. The third exercise is counting with gratitude. I want you, for the next 21 days, the number that the wise associate with the consolidation of a new pattern, to count your steps every time you enter your home. Not as a mechanical act, as an act of gratitude. Each step is a blessing. Each step is an affirmation. If you have 3 steps, each one can represent something: health, family, sustenance. If you have 7, each one can carry one of the 7 days of the week, a different intention. If you live in an apartment and go upstairs, each floor can be a level of consciousness that you are ascending. Counting with kavanah, with intention, transforms a physical movement into prayer. And daily prayer, rooted in gratitude, is one of the most solid pillars of the Kabbalistic practice of attracting abundance. A pattern that often appears in people who develop consciousness practices on the threshold is a gradual change in how they perceive their own home. The home ceases to be just a place where one sleeps and eats, and begins to be felt as a spiritual ally, a space that works alongside you, not just around you. And when you start to feel your home as an ally, you begin to care for it differently, to inhabit differently, to receive differently. And this virtuous cycle has effects that go far beyond the physical space. But I need to warn you about something, because any honest teaching needs to come with honesty about the obstacles. There is a force that Kabbalah calls klipot, the shells, the layers of resistance that surround the light and try to prevent it from manifesting. And one of the subtlest forms of klipot is that little inner voice that says, "This is nonsense. This won't work for me. My situation is different. I don't have time for ritual." That voice is not your enemy. It is your protector trying to maintain the status quo. Because the human brain, by design, prefers the familiar to the unknown, even when the familiar is harming you. What the wise taught is that you don't need to silence that voice to start. You just need not to obey it blindly. Listen, thank it for the intention of protection, and do the exercise anyway. Because conscious action, repeated consistently, is more powerful than any internal argument. And if one day you forget the practice, do not judge yourself. There is no perfection on the spiritual path. There is return. The return is the path itself. In Hebrew, the concept of teshuvah, usually translated as repentance, literally means return, to go back, to start over. This is a blessing, not a weakness. What I want you to take from this video is not a magic formula. It is not a promise that changing the entrance of your house will solve all your problems overnight. That would be dishonest of me, and I did not come here to deceive you. What I want you to take is a change of perception, the understanding that you already inhabit spaces filled with meaning, that every step you take has the potential to be a sacred act, that consciousness, the living, integrated knowledge, not just intellectual, is the ingredient that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Kabbalah is not a religion of spectacles. It is a tradition of attention, of presence. Notice what most people rush past. And when you start to notice, when you begin to enter your home as if you were entering a temple, even if it's just for 3 seconds, you are cultivating something that has a very beautiful name in Hebrew. Shmirat HaNefesh. Shmirat HaNefesh. The care for the soul. And a cared-for soul flourishes. And the flourishing of the soul finds expression in all areas of life, including prosperity, health, relationships, and creativity. Tell me in the comments, will you try the conscious threshold practice for 7 days? Write threshold in the comments if you accept the challenge. I want to know who is on this journey with me. And if this video touched something within you, share it with someone you love, because the wisdom that circulates multiplies. And the blessing you offer to another returns to you with interest, not from a bank, but from Shemayim, from heaven. Before I finish, a blessing for you who has made it this far. May the threshold of your home always be a portal of peace. May every step you take towards your home be accompanied by the awareness that you are loved, that you are provided for, that you are not alone on this journey. The Lord bless you and keep you. May the Eternal bless you and guard you. May the Eternal shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May the Eternal turn his face towards you and grant you shalom, complete peace. Amen. In the next video, we will talk about the days of the week and what Kabbalah teaches about which day is the most powerful for making important financial decisions. You won't want to miss this. Activate the bell, and I'll see you there. Shalom.